Okay, so a few days ago, the EPA came out and said they started implementing the president's termination of the Biden-Harris EV mandate. So let's talk about that, because there's been a lot of debate, there's been a lot of discussion over whether it's actually an EV mandate. Of course, the Republicans say it is a mandate, the Democrats say it's not a mandate. I'll just give you the facts, and you can decide if it's a mandate. The first thing I'd like to point out is that nowhere in the EPA emission standards, in this finalized rule that the Biden-Harris administration came out with, nowhere at all does it say this is an EV mandate. The word mandate doesn't even appear. That will be the argument of some people. But just because the word mandate doesn't appear doesn't mean that the rules don't effectively equate to a mandate. So here are the final standards that would have been implemented by 2032, and that is that all light-duty cars emit 73 grams of CO2 per mile. Important to note, the 73 grams is what the company must average across the fleet. So not every car has to be under 73 grams, but all of the cars together have to average 73 or less. And for light-duty pickups, that number is 90. So not every light-duty pickup has to be under 90, but all of the light-duty pickups that an auto manufacturer builds has to average 90 or less grams of CO2 per mile. So let's look at the Ford F-150, best-selling truck for many years, best-selling vehicle for a lot of years, 409 grams of CO2 per mile. That has to average 90. And it's at 409. What does that mean? That means for every 5 F-150s sold in 2032, 4 of them have to be EVs to meet the emission standards. 4 of them have to be EVs. That doesn't mean the customer has to buy them. That's what the auto manufacturer has to build. You see, some people think of an EV mandate as them saying the customer must buy an EV. No, there's nothing that says a customer has to buy anything. This says the manufacturer has to build something, regardless of whether the customer buys it or not. So what if we add the F-150 hybrid to the mix? How will that help? It won't. It won't, because the Ford F-150 hybrid almost puts out as much CO2 as the normal F-150. Yeah, 386 grams per mile. And what this means is you can't implement more hybrids and have a mix of EVs, full EVs, hybrids, and gas. You can't, because the hybrids put out too many emissions. So even with hybrids, 4 out of 5 vehicles have to be fully electric. And since this is by far Ford's best-selling vehicle, for every one of these they want to sell, in order to keep those emissions down, they have to have 4 EVs on the lot, on the market. So let's take a look at cars. So I pulled up the Chevy Malibu, with a small 1.5 liter engine, right? 283 grams per mile. That has to be reduced to 73. And what that means is that 3 out of 4 cars would have to be fully electric. So let's pose another question. If this is the best-selling pickup in the United States, and if only 1 out of 5 of all of these pickups built can be gas-powered, and nearly all the demand for these pickups are for gas-powered, nobody wants a Ford Lightning EV. That's been proven. So if all of the demand is for the product, that's only going to be 20% of the total product on the market, what's going to happen to the price of that? The price of that's going to go through the roof. Supply and demand. Not to mention, this is going to have to cover the losses from the EVs. Quite often when you hear the term EV mandate, people think, oh, they're forcing consumers to buy EVs. No. In my opinion, this is absolutely an EV mandate, but not for consumers. It's for the auto manufacturers. It is an EV mandate for the auto manufacturers. A policy doesn't have to specifically say it's a mandate if all of the rules and standards you must follow can only lead you to one place. And that's the same place the mandate would lead you. In my opinion, it's an EV mandate on the auto manufacturers. Thanks.